Hey everyone, Coach and Hoga Athletes, Canaday here with another training talk analysis. We're going to break down my training week. Last week, actually, it's January 8th through the 14th on Strava. It goes from Monday to Sunday, but any 7-day span you could break it down. And it's actually kind of a lower volume week for me. I'm preparing for the Tarawera Ultramarathon in New Zealand, which is in 4 weeks. This was back where it was 5 weeks out. Should be hitting pretty high volume right now. And I've tried to hedge some of my mileage with uphill skiing. I do laps at the local resort. So I'm, doing ski mountaineering. Well, it's not mountaineering. Uphill skiing, alpine touring, we'll say, on the piste mainly. So it's a good workout at really high altitude, up to 12,000 feet. It's like 3,600 meters. I'll put that in meters there. But, a couple miles there. That was actually my first day of the week. But totals were not super high. And, I got wrapped up in some stuff of, making sure I'm staying fresh and not getting injured or overtraining. But I only hit, and I say only because it's relative to what I've done in the past, 66.8 miles for the week. It's barely over 100K, really. 14,000 feet of climbing, a little bit decent, 10 and a half hours of training time. What you have to realize for me, which might be different for you, is I'm a sponsored athlete. I have a lot of flexibility. Sandy and I own our own coaching business, so we have flexibility of how much time we have to train and when we could train, but also I get, a lot of resources. I get shoes and gear from Hoka thanks to their title sponsor support. So it might be a lot easier for me compared to you if you have a rigid full-time job where you're in the office a lot or you have to work 8-hour days consistently. Maybe you're squeezing in an hour here and there if you can. Maybe you have family time with kids. It's very busy and very hard to relate. So I do realize that. But, I've been running for 25 years. I have a huge aerobic base, mileage base. There were some years in there where I averaged like 90 miles a week for 5 years straight, basically, including time off. That was back after I graduated college a while ago. But just framing that perspective, ultramarathon training, it's kind of daunting because you might be running this long race, 50 miles, 80K, 100 miles, or 100K, or 100 miles. And for the vast majority of people, you're not even hitting that total in a whole 7-day span, your whole weekly volume. And, that's okay for a lot of people. Pro elite runners, and myself included, have gone way over 100 miles a week, 200 kilometers a week, even, 120 miles a week, often in training. But more is not always better, especially if you're trying to stay healthy and not get injured. And intensity matters a bit too, and climbing, especially in trail races. So breaking down my week, those were the totals. Only 10 and a half hours. It's not too time demanding. And that doesn't include stretching and gym sessions and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of gym work yet. We're going to get into that more. But, started the week off with a nice little ski here, a couple laps at the local hill. I really like skiing. It's been really cold and snowy and windy here, so that kind of helps. You actually get more heat training in when you're wearing a bunch of clothes, skinning uphill. So that was the first day, Monday, starting off with some ski training. Then I went to the Monday night group run, a little social run we have. And what do we do? 4 miles with 5,500 feet of climbing, 40-minute run times. So little run up the local trail hill. You can see the little clip there. Beautiful evening with some of my friends in the local community. Next day, Tuesday, January 9th, I just did an easy trail run kind of in the same area from town in Salida, Colorado. 8 miles, and I'll convert this all to metric there. 1,230 feet of climbing, almost an hour 20. So nice, easy, relaxed zone 2 type of day. And then I doubled it up. Late at night. Well, 7 p.m. at night. Sandy likes to eat dinner around then. But, I'm squeezing in my treadmill session in the garage. Climbing at 5% grade, 3.26 miles, 865 feet of climbing. And that was just a 30-minute run on the treadmill. But running twice a day. So, upping the metabolism there, getting the motivation going. The next day, I had a workout, a quality. When I say workout, it involves quality, which is usually over the threshold or over 80% max heart rate. So it's a quality session. A workout session means that I got to focus on the effort or intensity or pace, and I'm doing something very specific. So, I warm up at 5% uphill grade. Oh, we got 4 times 10 minutes up tempo with a 5-minute rest in between, and I was alternating I'd do 10 minutes at 5% grade, then I'd rest for 5 minutes at 5% grade. Then I'd do 10 minutes at 10% grade, and then I did that cycle again. So it was 4 times 10 minutes. Nice, pretty heart rate spikes. That's the kind of heart rate data I like to see. Chorus armband strap there was kicking on the treadmill, and nice and controlled. Decent climbing, 5% grade, 10% grade. 10% grade definitely feels a lot steeper, but it's good training for Tarawera, good training. And then I did a cool down. So that was January 10th. I believe that was also the Wednesday night group beer run. We run to a brewery, local brewery in town. So another 4 miles there, 564 feet of climbing, climbed the local hill, Tenderfoot Hill, S Mountain and Slide, and then had a pint at Tres Literas with some friends. Thursday was ski mitten weather, January 11th, 2024. Looks like I ran relatively flat on the bike path, but it's quite windy. It's not a perfectly flat bike path, but easy, relaxed, 7:42 pace, a little over an hour for 8 miles. And I'm not sure what the climbing was there. Several hundred feet, I think about 400 feet of vertical on the flat bike path. Then the next day, that's all I did on that day. January 12th, I did some easy climbing on the treadmill. And yeah, it was just real short, 5.73 miles, but 1,500 feet of climbing in 50 minutes. Average heart rate 126, so more zone 2, light climbing at 5% grade. That's kind of in my sweet spot. Part of that's because I know the Tarawera course, rolling through the forest. There's some steep hills for sure, but it's not like super steep mountain grade. Historically, it's been more runnable. Depends on the weather conditions too, but you got to be able to move and get that turnover. So, considering I'm at altitude here, it's harder to run fast at 10% or 15% grade, but I will do workouts that are steeper. And then we had a nice little another session, January 13th quality session, 10 by 3 minutes on, 2 minutes off. So a fartlek timed interval kind of, also alternating 5% and 10% grade. And I believe the total distance there is 5.4 miles, almost 2,000 feet of climbing though, and a 50-minute treadmill workout. It was quite hot, if I remember. But I was getting the heart rate spikes over 160, which is fairly high for me. I held 157 for 2.5 hours at Honolulu in hot and humid conditions, and I predict that's around 90% of my max heart rate. So getting over to 160 is kind of getting into the lower realm of what we call VO2 max, over 92% max heart rate, but crossing the lactate threshold a bit there. So there's a benefit there, but tempo surges, it looks like it's going 8.8 miles an hour at 5% grade. Then about the last reps I know we're at 7 miles an hour on the 10% grade. Keep in mind I'm at 7,500 feet though in altitude, and I found out the other day my treadmill's actually a little crooked. I think even at baseline at 0% grade, it's kind of tilted uphill slightly, so it might be 0.5% grade off, give or take. Got to calibrate that thing. So that was a nice treadmill workout. Then January 13th, then I actually doubled it up that day on January 13th. Did some easy climbing at 10% grade to make it a 4,000 foot climbing day. That's what I was doing, but about 2.5 miles there. Then the last day of the week, Sunday, holiday weekend here in the US, but I did a 10-mile run, 16K out on the bike path. It's quite windy and getting cold, I believe, that day, but 10 miles, and then immediately after that 10-mile run, I came into the treadmill and finished it off with another 2 miles on my treadmill at 5% uphill, so another 530 feet of climbing on that. So that's the stats for that week. I'd like more volume. I still have some time before I taper hard before the Tarawera 100K. And of course, traveling to New Zealand, you kind of take a couple of days off there anyway with the long plane flight and time change. But really looking forward to this race. Again, I've been to Tarawera over the years. This will be my 4th time going back to New Zealand in the last 11 years. Fond memories, great organization, great race. Local running community in New Zealand is amazing. Yeah, my first experience at Tarawera, 2013, I was lucky enough to win the 100K, barely. And then in 2014, I came back and they shortened the course because of the weather. There was like a rain windstorm. It was muddy. Carrie Suter actually paced me the last 10 miles or so, and I won that year, 2014. A real special memory, near and dear to my heart. And then I went back one more time in 2020, right before COVID hit, and kind of had a rough race in the 100K. I was fifth place overall. So I'm looking to improve on that time and performance. They've had to change the course slightly over the years, and you never know with the weather, but it's probably a bit warmer than Colorado at this time of the year. End of summer in New Zealand. It's going to feel humid because everything feels humid compared to Colorado. So dry here. But, I've been training on skis, been training on the treadmill, coming off the Honolulu Marathon fitness. Hopefully things, will pull together, but it's a wonderful opportunity. And again, community in New Zealand, it's a favorite place in the world to go to. I absolutely love New Zealand and being there. So it's really looking forward to that. But that's my training wrap for that week. You see the variations in pace. It was an interesting week because I didn't have an actual long run workout. I did this past week where I actually ran 26 miles, 42K, but more on that later. That's the training wrap for this past week. Thanks for following along. We've got more training talks coming your way. Comment below with content you would like to see and hear about or questions you have. Check out all my playlists. I've been doing YouTube videos for almost 15 years on this channel, I believe now. So, any feedback, constructive criticism is very welcome. Let me know how you're doing. Hope to see you out there at some of the events. I got a great schedule planned for this year. Really looking forward to it. So thanks to the Patreon supporters for really making this channel possible, as well as title sponsor Hoka, keeping the dream alive. Fly human fly. Thanks for watching. Like these videos, thumbs up, share them on social media. Hope you're doing well, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.